Yo, 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 welcome to Made to Think with your host, Ninjam. I have yet another super exciting guest. He's a kind of new author on the scene, highly recommended by so many of my peers. There's a big hype about his new book, which is called Egypt Before the Written History, The Lost Knowledge of Ancient Egypt. Now, it's the first time I've never read the book, but this lovely gentleman did send me the synopsis, and I have read it, and I've created some questions that I think are appropriate for this interview. I also have a few questions from some fans. There's a lot of content to get through, so without further ado, I want to introduce the lovely Mohamed Ibrahim. How are you, sir?
I'm very good. How are you, Adam?
Inshallah, salam alaikum.
Alaikum salam. I'm happy to be with your podcast.
Brilliant. Now, please introduce yourself for the listeners.
I am Mohamed Ibrahim. I am Egyptian. Many people call me an Egyptologist, which, of course, something I love, but I love more to be called a tour guide because to be a tour guide in Egypt is different from any other place. A tour guide in Egypt means I have a bachelor degree in Egyptology and other studies. Because to be an Egyptologist, you study only ancient Egypt. But to become a qualified tour guide, you study ancient Egypt, Greco-Roman Egypt, Coptic Egypt, Islamic Egypt, and modern Egypt, plus art, religion, ancient language, and so many other side subjects. So I'm proud to be called the tour guide. And as you said, I am a new author. Although that I started to write my book 5 years ago.
Wow.
But because it's my first and I may have the information, but not the technique. So it took me that time. I have been working as a tour guide for more than 22 years now. I was graduated to work as a mainstream tour guide. But because I was born in Memphis, Memphis, Egypt, of course. Okay.
Yep. There's only one Memphis.
So my town was surrounded by ancient sites like Saqqara, Dahshur, Abu Sir, Abu Ghraib, and so many other sites. And my school, my primary school, used to take us in school trips to these sites. So I can tell you, I became very interested in history and in archaeology when I was very young.
That's amazing.
So it was my dream to become a tour guide. And when I started to study this in the college, I had many questions. So many of the stories didn't resonate with me. So after I was graduated, I was very lucky to meet many of the famous speakers, like Chris, like Robert Schoch, like others. And I found some answers in their stories and in their theories about ancient Egypt. So from a very early beginning, I became a different type of tour guide, leading tours in different perspectives. I can tell you that I love Egypt the most, okay, because it's my country, of course. But you will find that the visitors of Egypt, the first time they come to Egypt, it is not their last time. All of them fall in love in Egypt. All the Arabs, all the Europeans, all the Western people and the Eastern people. So I can tell you, I am a tour guide who loves Egypt the most. That's why when I study anything about ancient Egypt, I feel that I am doing like a holy mission.
That's amazing. Now, what triggered what you mentioned there, that you saw some of these speakers and you went to these places as a child, but what do you think was the trigger when you said, I'm not sure that this matches up with what I can see and what I know about, maybe the fables or the legacy, which we'll talk about in a minute. But what was the one thing for you where you said, nah, I have to ask some more questions?
It was the Pent Pyramid in Dahshur.
Right.
I was standing there more than 25 or 26 years ago with my colleagues. Our professor was explaining the story of the pyramid to us. And then he came to this point telling us that the Pent Pyramid was a mistake.
I heard that.
The
Right.
engineers made a mistake because they were amateurs.
Yeah.
So I was listening to this, and what the pyramid is massive,
Yeah.
super quality, like you never see anything. You know, the pyramid in compare with Giza pyramids, it is something huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if you compare any pyramid with Giza pyramids, the it is not fair. But the only one can can be nominated for this comparison is the Pint pyramid. So that was the trigger. That was the time I started to think, okay, I think it must be another source of information,
Yeah.
another way to understand ancient Egypt rather than mainstream history.
I think that's the great mystery is that these guys, once they started building, there was no room for error and they'd already planned it out so precisely. And you're absolutely right. I was told the same story. Now, as a child, did you have any access to restricted areas or places that were completely unknown to tourists that showed signs of like a missing chapter of your own history, you know, such as underground tunnel systems or secret temples?
Look, it happened, but I can tell you that the first site I visited was Saqqara. And because there was a small cafeteria near the Serapeum. I
Yeah.
remember this cafeteria. No, it disappeared like 20 years ago.
Right.
Okay. But I still remember the cafeteria. And it was not even a functioning cafeteria. It was like just an abandoned building.
A
Okay.
facade, secret
Yes.
entrance.
So what happened as a place to have some rest and to keep the students together, they took us there because the
Right.
Serapeum was not well known even to the tourists at the
Yep.
time. So imagine that was my first place, the Serapeum. I
Wow.
was studying there when I was 10 years old, watching these giant boxes. And yes, we listened to the famous story about the abyss pool and these kind of things, which I remember it didn't resonate with me
Yep.
from that age, 10 years old, and I didn't agree with the story. But I was super impressed with the tunnel under the ground with these huge rooms and huge boxes. So yes, I think something happened to me. Maybe I didn't feel it at the time, but I think the what I'm doing now is the effect of the energy I received from that visit that day.
That's amazing. We'll talk about the Serapeum because I actually didn't get time to talk to Chris about that. So I'd love to break that down. Now, as an Egyptian, were there any kind of like childhood stories or legacies that local people would talk about how the temples or structures were built and the people that built them? I'm surprised that there has to be some kind of, you know, oral tradition that's been passed down.
Look, unfortunately, because Egypt was invaded hundreds of times
Right.
by ancient nations like the Babylonians, Assyrians, Persians, and by the Greeks, the Romans, and also during the Ottoman time and then the British. So I can tell you all of them tried to create a big gap between the Egyptians and their history and try to disconnect also between the Egyptians, even in our studies. But what I realized that all the Egyptians from the north all the way to the south, from the east to the west, they all agree on one thing, that they consider that these ancient sites were built to do a kind of healing function
Yeah.
to the locals. Either by going close to these sites, visiting these sites, okay, and maybe till recent time, but maybe in limited ways, there was a kind of some groups of the Egyptians who visit these places for this reason, for healing.
Yeah.
But I can tell you there are some oral stories about these sites, but maybe because we don't know exactly the truth. So some of these stories are like super fantasy stories. Like what?
Yeah.
Like they talk about jinns and they talk about some kind of spiritual powers to
Yeah.
levitate the blocks to build these structures.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what you can hear in the local communities. But as I told you, they all agree that these sites were built for healing.
Yeah, Ahmed did say that they're still practicing that now in some parts of Egypt. But
Yes.
maybe a lot of pollution has got into those areas, or maybe the energy source has moved to another place now.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's still an old tradition to heal. Do you ever go to places like that yourself to heal? Have you had any effect of that?
Maybe I didn't go there was an intention, okay?
Yeah,
Uh, but I can tell you, I realized, okay? Um, because sometimes I go, don't forget that this is also my business, okay?
yeah,
And to lead tours, you have so many other pressure because the responsibility of the tours. So sometimes I do this without paying attention to the energy of the place. But
right. I see.
when I go back home, I feel it. I feel the
Ah,
effect, especially when I do something private,
wow.
something not regular, like doing private visit inside the Great Pyramid. And sometimes when I have big groups, we have private access to Giza Plateau for like 4 hours, 6 hours, okay, because we have more than one group. So I stay inside for a long time. So when I go back home, I feel the change, especially my knees. I have bad knee,
Yeah.
okay, and this is not okay with climbing up and down. Okay, it's supposed to hurt my knee more.
Yeah.
But I realize that when I do private visits inside the Great Pyramid, I stay like 4 or 3 months without any pain or any problem with my knees at all.
Nice.
Okay.
You just pointed out there something as well. When people who haven't been to Egypt, when we talk about these structures being for dead kings or tombs, or for many people to go to carry dead bodies through, they usually you have to bend down for a long time and crouch. It would be impossible to drag a body through these tunnels. And one other thing I just want to mention: I was in Egypt in 2005, and I had my
Mhm.
first ever digital Canon camera, which back then cost a lot of money. And I remember taking photographs around Luxor and Saqqara. And when I looked at the pictures in high resolution, there was lots of like orbs, light orbs all over. And I thought it was dust particles. And I've recently found out that these are like electronic particles that still surround these areas, correct? So that
Yes.
could be the healing qualities. Fantastic. Now, most people are happy to accept that ancient Egypt dates back to around 3500 BC, according to mainstream narrative. But in your book, which I haven't read yet, you claim there were many more ancient civilizations that started hundreds, if not thousands of years ago, and maybe even older. Now, from your personal research, who do you believe came first, and what are the signs of that first civilization? And approximately where do you think they began?
Okay. If we use or depend on the mainstream history, it will be the Sumerians and Göbekli Tepe.
Right.
That if we depend on what the mainstream history.
Yep.
But even the mainstream history is we don't know. It is not. How do you call it? Uh, it is not presented to us correctly
Correct.
because there is now what we also call it mainstream history, and it is accepted by all the Egyptologists yet, but it's not famous yet. That there is at the beginning of the Egyptian civilization was 9000 BC.
Yep.
Okay? But what if we talk about the alternative history, which was also accepted by geologists and so many scientists? We will talk about, are you ready for the surprise?
Go on.
2.3 million BC.
Yeah, I believe it.
Why this? Because so many geologists, especially Belgium University, they did a great work in Egypt since 1964. Okay, they work. They found so many flint tools. Them and others. They found so many skeletons. We have 4 groups of skeletons. Skeletons 12,000 BC, skeleton 18,000 BC, skeleton 23 or 24,000 BC, skeleton 35,000 BC, and the last one, 5, skeleton 50,000 BC. Okay, so the oldest organic material we have, 50,000 BC. But we found older tools from flint. We found 500,000 BC, 600,000, 1 million, 1,500,000, 2 million, and 2.3 million BC. Flint tools made by smart humans, made by Homo sapien. Okay.
Right.
And if we say that the dynastic evolution evolved in 3,000 years, so it means that every 3,000 years we have high civilization. Okay. So you can count 2.3 million years, how many 3,000 years in between. So we talk about more than 9,000 or close. So we talk about thousands of civilizations, thousands of civilizations. Okay. But now the question, were they high civilizations or primitive people? Chris Dunn can answer this question easily, and Ahmed Adli, and also Ben Uncharted X. If you see their work about the stone vases and jars were found from an era we call it pre-dynastic.
Yeah,
These
I've been watching that. Yeah,
yes, sophisticated and very developed, or they were made by very high technique. So it means that the civilization preceded the dynastic civilization is higher technology, and it could be the one before and the one before.
Yeah, just for the listeners, there is these little vases that have come out, which Chris Dunn, Ben, a bunch of people have been researching, and they're so precise, not just on the outside, but on the inside, which there's no way they were done on a pottery wheel. They've measured these with high precise tools, and yeah, it's proven that these people were super smart, a lot older than what we've been told. Now, I believe in what you said. I believe we'll go through cycles, and then there's a catastrophe, we get wiped out, and it would be so easy to lose all of that evidence. We just get buried in the sand, you know.
If we talk about the solar flare or solar disaster, one major pulse from the sun, electromagnetic pulse, will kill technology in 1 second.
Wow.
So we will go to the Stone Age in 10 days. 10 days, we were going to lose many humans, food supplies down, everything will be down. So within maybe 2 years, the mankind will live very primitive life.
Do you think that's why there's so much sand in Egypt? Maybe the sand is the silicon depository of like what used to be all the life. It's just been evaporated.
Yes, because every 10,000 years, everything will evaporate, even metal, rubber, plastic, sand, everything except stones.
Yes, exactly. Now, how do you believe that humans came into existence, and what would have been our first major priority, in your opinion? Do you think that we were like a genetic experiment of some kind from a higher intelligence, maybe used as slaves?
Do you mean similar to the story of the Anunnaki?
Exactly, the story of Anunnaki. And the reason I want to bring that up is because the wonderful Billy Carson, he's doing amazing stuff. He's really all about the Anunnaki now, and he did the foreword for your book, which is massive. Congratulations. I hope to get him on the show at some point. But yes, I'm thinking about the Anunnaki.
Okay. My own belief as an Egyptian and also as a Muslim, because I think both are similar, that the Egyptians are talking about great power, okay? And this great power cannot be explained. And the great power created the universe and all the powers, including what we call them the knitters or the knitzers. The powers of nature. I think the Sumerian and the Babylonian, when they talk about the Anunnaki, they talk about these powers, okay? So I think the first human or human race was created for many reasons, okay? We don't know much of these reasons, but what I know for sure that the first human or the first generation was super intelligent. The level of intelligence was maximum 100%. We were able to use 100% of our brain powers. And our abilities were unlimited abilities. But because of cycles and because of disasters, and because we had to hide under the ground several times, we started to lose these abilities one after the time. 10% maybe each time, 15 or less or more. I'm not sure about the percentage. But we reached now the level of 13%. The smartest person on earth now is using 13% of his or her brain power.
Yep.
What happened to 87%? Sleep, not active. Okay.
Yep.
So I think that we don't evolve. No, we devolve. And one day we were superhuman. One day we had all the abilities. We could walk on water. We could fly. We could activate portals. But what maybe I think, or I'm not sure, if Earth is our first planet or as a new shelter for us, for some of our survivors. But no, I think mankind from day one was, we were the giants themselves. Okay?
Yes, yes.
But maybe some kind of help happened to us from our ancestors. Because do you have time? I have an interesting story to tell you.
Oh, I have all the time in the world. You go ahead.
My own story.
I was more interested in if you had time, but we can go all day. Carry on.
I call it the story of mankind.
Yep.
Okay. So as I told you, I think in this story that Adam and his descendants were giants, number one, giants in size.
Right.
Because some of the Islamic sources are talking about Adam, that he was the tall 60 arms. And the arm is about 80 to 85 centimeters. So Adam was around 50 meters tall.
Right.
Okay. Imagine 50 meters, a big building. Okay. About 15 or 17 floors. The descendants of Adam, I think, felt maybe like gods on earth. So they messed with nature. And I can tell you that the main, maybe the only enemy of nature is mankind. Okay. We are the only people destroying nature. So nature to fix itself must whip out the reason, human.
Yeah.
That's why is there a problem from our solar system, problem from Earth itself? So mankind find that they must hide. If there's a problem from the sun, they must hide under the ground. Hiding under the ground means that their pineal gland will be disconnected with the sun.
Yes,
and
very interesting.
Exactly. This will lead, because the pineal gland every day connected with the sun, even if you are not actually connected, but that's why I advise people not to stay indoors all the time. No, they must and feel the sun. That daily effect makes the pineal gland juicy. And this kind of slimy juice is the reason for us to be human, to have sense and logic. So when they hide under the ground, they got like what I call it petrified pineal gland.
Yes,
and
I heard this.
And the second generation will be born under the ground, will be dumb a little bit. The third, the fourth, the fifth generation will be born under the ground, will look exactly like the caveman.
Yes.
The Neanderthals. And then the effect of the disaster will disappear, so people will be able to go outside the tunnels and the underground systems once again. So the first generation will be born outside the tunnel, will get some smartness back, and then the third, the fourth, the fifth, and we will get most of our brain abilities. And then after 50 disaster, then hide under the ground again.
Yeah, I believe that. Go on.
There was another option that some of those people were able to escape from Earth itself. Okay, they didn't want to go under the ground. But also living outside Earth, it has some other circumstances. Their DNA will change because of the radiation. at the space because of gravity, because of other circumstances. Okay, that's why I think our visitors over ages are originally our ancestors. Okay, they come to check on us. They come to see if we need some help, if we need some medical aid, support, changes, maybe to fix some DNA. Okay. So this is the story. So I understand and I know for sure, and there is a book about this disaster, 10,500 BC. This book is called Earth Under Fire, written by Dr. Paul Lavalier. I met the man, genius geologist. I met him in 2020 in Vegas. So that disaster was the reason that we lost the last high civilization on Earth. You can call it Atlantis, you can call it one of the ancient Egyptian phases, okay, but I call it the last advanced civilization on Earth. So later, what happened that the dynastic or the survivors, 9,000 BC, managed to start their own way to survive, and then ended by what we call it the dynastic Egypt, or what mistakenly call it ancient Egypt. So this is how we see the story of mankind, that we were super, but now we are at the minimum level.
I really love that. Yeah, I think it's great. And that explains all these underground cave systems and tunnels. It's obvious people were hiding from some kind of radiation on the surface. And also, if there were giants living underground, then the tunnel systems would be giant, but most of them are very small. And if you believe in the story of the dinosaurs, when the dinosaurs got wiped out, it would have been the small rodents that went underground that would have survived. Later, they would have come back. There would have been no predators over time, and then they would have grown. The only way you could get giant animals was to have no predators and a lot of vegetation, a lot of fruit on the surface, correct? And also, I don't know if you know this, but the story of Pinocchio comes from Pinocchio. It means the penal, the eye. And it means that story that we're lying to ourselves. We've lost the ability to see through our pineal gland. That's what that whole story is about. And, you know, we're like a puppet on a string. Very interesting. Exactly. Now, you are friends and colleagues now with the awesome Billy Carson, who I've mentioned before. He does a lot of good stuff on Gaia. He just did a huge conference in America about the Anunnaki. He was the first person that I heard on the Sean Ryan show talking about the story of Amun-Ra, which I found fascinating. Apparently, he was the first major architect of Kemet, of what we call the old Egypt, is Kem. Can you elaborate on this story of Amun-Ra, and do you think he was like the first architect?
That's why when you get my book, you will have better idea about what I call it, the stories of creation. Okay?
Right.
We have 4 stories of creation, and most of the academics, they think they are different and they are separate. A story, we call it the Ennead, 9 knitters created the world. And the leader of that story called Atum, and we can say Atum-Ra, okay, because Atum is the sun. Another story called the Ogdad, the 8 knitters created under the leadership of Tos. Yeah. And there is a story called the Memphit story under the leadership of Betah. And then we have the Luxor story under the leadership of Amun. By the way, Amun as an individual exists on the story of the Ogdad.
Okay.
Amun and Amunet. So Amun has like 2 identities now. Amun is the last cycle of the sun. We have 5 cycles for the sun. Kibr, the dawn, the scarab, and then Ra, the morning, Atum, the noon, Atun, the afternoon, and Amun, the sunset.
Yep.
So Amun means the hidden, the invisible power.
Yeah.
Okay. So the ancient Egyptian believed that Amun, the invisible power, was using sound for creation. I may present the story a little bit different from other people, from Billy Carson, but because I have some other backgrounds. Okay, that's why
Sure.
I make. Okay. So Amun-Ra is not only the creator, but also Amun-Ra was the last cycle of human civilization. This cycle is around 26,000 years. Okay, it is what we call it the grand year. It is the cycle of the equinox cycle. Okay.
Yep.
By the way, this cycle is the cycle of darkness. You see nothing,
Yes.
know
Yes.
nothing. You can be easily deceived. It can be easily affected by media, affected by which used to happen in the last 2,000 years, okay, and older. Okay, but when the Mayans in their calendar said that the end of days will be 2012, they meant the end of the cycle of Amun-Ra or
Right. I
Emin.
see. Yep.
2012 was the end of that cycle and the beginning of the new cycle, Kibber. So we
Yes.
are now in the beginning of the new cycle of light. So who is Amun? Amun is not the evil one. It's not the bad guy. No, it's a natural cycle. Okay. So mankind was created because of the scream of the goose, and the goose here represent Amun-Ra. Okay. That's why when Akhenaten rejected Amun-Ra, because he wanted to call back Atun, he didn't
Yes.
want to live in this cycle of darkness. He wanted to call Atun cycle. Atun
Ah,
cycle, the
I
one
see.
in by the disaster, 10,500 BC. Okay.
Ah,
It
right.
was the
Okay.
time of Atun cycle. So he wanted to enjoy the power of that cycle, but he couldn't because he was challenging nature.
I
Okay.
see. That's
So,
excellent.
so he wanted to show to the people that he is against Amun. So he was representing himself always breaking the neck of a goose.
Right.
Okay. Many people didn't understand what he's doing. No, the goose here represents Amun-Ra because Amun was using sound. And as we say, sound is, in Christianity and also in Islamic, we say the word, okay? B to B. So the creation was using the word. The word is sound.
Yes.
So as the ancient Egyptians from a very early beginning understood this fact that you need sound, you need resonant, okay? So this is how I see Amun-Ra. And by the way, we can sometimes say it Amun only, and or we can say Amun-Ra. Both are the same because Amun only means the sun, the hidden sun, and Ra, of course, mean the sun, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But when we say Amun or Amun-Ra, we must understand that this is cycle number 5 because there is Ra only, which is cycle number 2.
Yes, I see.
Okay.
So his legacy is the reason that so many religions say Amen to this day, Amen, right? I mean, this must have been a very important person.
Yeah, because as I told you, his name means the invisible power.
Ah, so everybody worships. I
Yes.
see. Okay. Yeah, that's a little bit different from Billy's, but very well said. Okay, so do you think, for example, like the Temple of Jupiter in Lebanon or Göbekli Tepe,
Yes.
did they come before Egypt for sure? There was a civilization
I
that came.
I visited Baalbek myself, and I visited the Jupiter temple. And in next August, I will visit Göbekli Tepe.
Yeah.
Okay. If I talk about the Baalbek temple, I will not talk about the date. Okay, I will talk about the size. I
Yes.
never expected that some temple will impress me more than Karnak temple.
Yeah.
But when I went there, I was opening my mouth. Okay, I was saying wow all the time. But you know what? I found a granite a piece of column, granite column, and there is a kind of a cut mark. And because of this evidence, I know for sure that this temple was built by the ancient Egyptians.
Wow.
Okay,
So you saw a
the
resemblance.
yeah, the advanced ancient Egyptians. Göbekli Tepe is 10,000 BC. And by the way, as I understand, because I worked with Dr. Robert Schoch many times, it was not made 10,000 BC. No, it was protected. It was
Yeah.
covered 10,000
Covered.
BC. So it is older than 10,000 BC. But as I told you, many of the Egyptian sites are pre-Diluvian sites, like the Great Pyramid, like Karnak, anything giant like the obelisks, like the statue of Ramesseum, statues of Memnon, the 700-ton statues. All these sites belong to pre-Diluvian Egypt. And pre-Diluvian means before 10,500 BC. And we are very nice when we say it this way, because I can easily say 200,000 BC, 500,000 BC, but we don't have the exact date. So the ancient Egyptian sites are much older than any other site I know.
I think Baalbek must be some evidence that there was giant people and maybe they got wiped out later on, but there's no way us humans are lifting those stones. And some people even suggest that Baalbek was some kind of like a platform for rockets to take off, because these stones could, you know, take heat, great amounts of heat. Yeah, it's a big mystery. Now, what can you tell us about the story of Akhenaten and why was he so important? He seems to be like this principal person. And what is your theory on the elongated skulls? Is this evidence of an alien race or higher intelligence?
Not necessarily, but like intelligence race, yes. Okay. And that's why there is some African tribes till recent time, they used to try to add some kind of straps and yes, to shape the heads of their boys and girls this way, because they understood that their oral tradition is telling them that one day there was a magician or a smart person or someone with abilities, but that was the shape of the head. Okay.
Yeah.
So as they try to imitate this, Akhenaten, as I told you, was a very strange era in the Egyptian history. Okay. And by the way, I don't agree to call him or to call his movement as the religious movement.
Right.
I see it not fair. No, Akhenaten was not revolting against Amun-Ra because it is religion. No, because it was philosophy and knowledge.
Exactly. I agree.
Akhenaten had access to some pre-Diluvian knowledge. And he understood that there is a way to communicate with the sun. Okay. Not just looking to the sun like any other scientist. No, he understood that there is kind of resonant comes from the sun, kind of waves, and he can receive this and can use this as kind of knowledge and science. Okay.
Yeah.
That's why he wanted to convince the people that we can change reality. Nefertiti and his family maybe like believed on him. Okay. But what about his head? So far, we are not very sure because we always see his head covered with the crown. Okay. So we are not sure if the head of Akhenaten was elongated or no. But his daughter, there are some statues for his daughters in the Egyptian Museum with elongated skulls.
Right.
Maybe not the same like the South American skulls, but still very weird skulls, and the back side of the skull is huge, and it is far away from the normal human level of skulls. Okay.
Yeah, and also the research from Brian Forster, you know, I forgot what it's called. Is it the cranium on the skull? Usually we have like a line in a normal human skull, but these don't have a line. They're completely flat, which says that they've not been created by binding. That's evidence, right? With the elevated, the skulls found in Peru and Bolivia, there is no what is it called? The cranium. I don't know exactly. Yeah.
I maybe don't know the name, but yes, when the baby is being born, the skull is not one piece. So these kind of lines, yes. So some of the skulls. Also, Akhenaten daughters don't have the same thing, as if their skull is one piece.
It's one piece, right? So it's naturally formed. Yes.
But what in the story, we are not very sure. Okay. But there is some kind of writings were left for us from Akhenaten time. We call it the hymns of Akhenaten. Akhenaten praying to Atun or calling Atun and calling him the creator And some of these sentences are almost the same, like in the Jewish what we call it, David songs, or David hymns. Okay,
Yeah.
it's almost the same, talking about creation, talking about powers, talking about the afterlife. Okay, so present the same thing. So it seemed that there was one source for this information, very old source, and only some chosen people are allowed to get access to this source.
I see.
Okay. Mhm. You
So,
know,
I mean,
the background using this background, I choose
yeah,
this background for a reason. This is the word Saba. It means Stargate.
look at my arm. I have the
Ah,
Duat. I have the
and
Duat
that's what.
tattoo, and I have the same symbol. I didn't want to say anything. I actually got this from Robert Bauval's Orion mystery book, and
Okay.
I had an idea to write a movie about there being another inhabitable planet which our ancestors protected, and they would come from that planet. It's actually in the story of the Orion mystery. It's the middle star of Orion's belt, which is called Al Niktak. Now, it's funny because my name is Adam, and of course you've got the atom, and I think there's some resemblance there about talking about the atom, that these people knew about genetics, they knew about DNA, they knew everything about life because
Yes.
they were working one with nature.
Yes.
So I think that it could be representing the atom, all of life. Now, also talking about these things, do you think that the story of Osiris and Isis and Horus is the same story as the Babylonian Ishtar and Tammuz and Nimrod, and also the traditional story of Mary, Joseph, and Jesus? It seems to be a trilogy in creation. Do you think they're all related?
Yes. All these stories were repeated from civilization to another,
Yes.
because maybe there was ancient connections between these civilizations, and the effect of the older one lasted on the newer civilization. Sometimes also some immigrants, because we know for sure that many of the Egyptian priests immigrated out of Egypt, going to Africa, going to Far East, going to Europe. Okay. But if you allow me to say this, that the Egyptian stories are always, not only the stories, but everything connected with ancient Egypt is multi-meaning and multifunction.
Yes.
Okay.
Good
So
point.
you cannot say it is not, it is one explanation. No. Yes, one side of the story can be similar to another story. But if you dig deep, you will find that the Egyptian story is always hiding other levels of the story. So Osiris and Isis and Horus represent also a kind of an astrological phenomenon. Okay,
Yes.
because Osiris is related to Orion, Isis related to Sirius, Horus related to Mars.
Yes.
Okay, so as if, yes, we talk also about constellation between these three elements. Okay, and that could be like a certain day of power, a certain day of some actions. Okay, but yes, I can tell you that Egypt is similar to so many ancient nations. Recently, I found a box, a lid of a box in a place called Elisht, and a similar one in Alexandria. Okay, that there is a kind of, I don't know how, like a mark. Um, it's like 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 a stroke. Okay,
Okay.
on four of them on the lid. Okay.
Right. Okay. Like a stamp, a logo or something?
No, the
A tool mark? No.
no, not tool mark. It's a design, like a
Okay.
rectangle.
Okay.
Okay, a rectangular shape. Yes, this is the. Okay, so this is the oval shape of the lid, and there is two rectangulars, and one in each side, and then the other edge two also. Okay,
Okay. Yep.
this is an exact copy of a lid exist in Japan.
Oh, wow. So
Okay, the
that's
same thing exactly. I will send you the photos.
Okay, that sounds wonderful. So that's some evidence that these were all connected, or it could have been one giant civilization working in harmony.
Yes,
Yeah,
100%.
I believe that. So, when people talk about Atlantis, do you think that like maybe Egypt could have been the epicenter of that, or do you believe that they inherited all this knowledge from a previous civilization? I mean, I do. I want to believe in Atlantis. I really do, and I think there's a giant ocean. It's probably underground, but some people seem to be so. Oh my god! As soon as you mention that, you're a wacko. What do you think?
Uh-huh. Okay, let's use the story of Solon. Okay,
Okay.
so we know the story of Atlantis from Plato, but Plato
Yes,
heard the story from whom? From Solon.
that's right.
And
Yeah.
Solon heard the story from whom? From the Egyptian priest.
Yeah.
Okay, all the early Greek philosophers and scientists came to Egypt, came to Heliopolis to study in ancient Egypt. So it seemed that Solon and one of the Egyptian priests were very good friends. So the priest released some information to Solon, telling him that one day, yes, he told him one day there was a great civilization. Okay, the story doesn't say where, here in Egypt or outside Egypt, but I will come to this. Told him that there was a great civilization, and this civilization was wiped out because of natural disaster. And that time happened, that disaster happened when the sun was rising from the west,
Right.
not from. And he told him that this happened twice. Okay. So the priest here admitted that this disaster happened twice. So he's talking about now two civilizations, not just one.
Right. I see.
Two Atlantis. But I talk about hundreds, okay, of Atlantis, not just one. Solon said, Plato said that the location of Atlantis is behind Hercules Pillars.
Yeah.
Okay. They think Hercules Pillars, this place between Spain and Morocco.
Yeah.
And logically, it means the Atlantic Ocean.
That's the Canary Islands around there, is
Yes,
it? Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
What if Solon was talking, Plato was talking about Alexandria? Okay, because it makes sense. Greece, the Mediterranean, they reach Alexandria. Okay, you know, Egypt and Greece are almost on the same longitude. Okay, so if we talk about Alexandria, I can tell you that there is a place called Pompey's Pillar. Okay, there is giant pillar at that place. It is now just one, but I think there were many pillars, huge pillars. And I think they called them Hercules pillars.
Right.
Okay. Why they called? Because if the place was related to Horus, the Greeks called anything related to Horus Hercules.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So my own belief that Atlantis was the last advanced civilization of Egypt. And
Right.
at Edfu Temple, they talk about a group of people, like a continent, received a kind of an attack from the sky,
Yes.
and they showed this attack as a snake, huge snake called Sapti. So Sapti attacked them, destroyed them, and then some survivors managed to use some boats to go to other places to survive. Okay, the seafaring people.
Now, interestingly, just the plumed serpent thing now, according to that, I'll get into Jeffrey Drum. He's a very interesting guy. He says the plumed serpent is actually the electric shot, the lightning in the sky. So that could make sense. There was a big firestorm. And just to point to the listeners is that in the old times, people would have worshipped what was going on in the sky because there was no light pollution. That would have been a main focus. So the sight of a comet or whatever, you would have worshipped that. You would have, oh my God, it's lightning. Maybe they didn't understand what it was. Back to your story though. Sorry.
Okay. So you will see that the sources of the Atlantis information are from ancient Egypt. Okay. So I don't think, and if you read the Egyptian papyrus and the stories and what is written on the walls, you will find that the Egyptians were talking mainly about their homeland.
Yes. Okay.
They didn't want to talk about any other nations. Okay. Because The same thing happened by other nations. They were talking about Egypt also. You'll find that Egypt is mentioned in all the Babylonian, Assyrians, Phoenician, Persian sources. Okay, as if Egypt, not as if that was the truth. Egypt was the main, topic for all
Yeah.
the ancient nations. The main destination also.
Do we have any real evidence? Like, you might have spoken to geologists that know more than me, but like this whole idea of Pangea when the continents were together, that would make a lot more sense that we were all one civilization. And maybe that actually happened a lot earlier than we think it did.
Yeah.
You know, that would then that would make a lot of sense to say, yeah, this is one empire, one civilization.
Look, one of our big problems is some of the ideas were put 200 years ago
Yes.
about the origin of mankind.
Yeah.
Okay. And what is the style of the beginning of this first man? So if you talk to a geologist, they will not agree much with the idea, although that it is very possible. Okay. But the only problem is they don't accept, because when we talk about Pangea, we must talk about like 10 to 20 million BC.
Yeah.
But
I got a
then
feeling.
now the problem is they tell you, okay, we don't agree that the mankind lived or existed during the time. Why not? Okay.
Yeah.
Now we talk about 4 million BC. By the way, there's some recent geological discoveries, and also the latest piece of a skull was found in Kenya. Okay. It is a possible case that it is for a human, and they took about 4 million BC, and
Wow.
they find older. Okay.
Oh my God.
Told you
How
that
how can you date something so far back? What are they using for that?
Okay, normally they used carbon-14, but carbon-14 will not give you any accurate result if it is 100,000 years. Okay.
Right.
But
Okay.
they reached that there is other minerals they can use, like magnesium, phosphate. Okay, it gives better. And that the one they use mainly when they find some stone tools. They
Right.
don't use carbon-14, it doesn't work with stone. But magnesium and phosphate is working better.
In
And don't,
Manchester, in Manchester, we'd call that a pretty hard head if you survived that long.
yeah, yes, exactly.
What would be the first structure, in your opinion, that was built in Egypt, and what was its purpose?
This is tough question, okay?
Yeah.
And I think many people will say the pyramid. But I think the first structure was built, or one of the very early structures, is the Osirian temple in Abydos.
Yep. Okay.
Yes, I think this place is a huge power plant.
Yeah. Yeah.
The gigantic size of pillars there, and this place was built from two materials. Okay, granite, rose granite from Aswan, which is about 500 kilometers south of Abydos.
Yep.
And the second type of stone is red quartzite from Cairo, which is another 500 kilometers to the north. Okay. So why? Well, there is local stone in this area called limestone.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
never,
Why bring
yes.
this tough material all the way there? It has to be for a
Huge
purpose.
size under the level of the current ground. Okay, maybe that was the ground level back in the days, but now it is under the level of Abydos temple, the regular temple. Okay, there is a kind of water system, very special water system, and water canals and deep shafts. There is a shaft goes for 17 meters. We don't know if it goes deeper or no, but we know for sure it goes deep 17 meters. But there are some stories that it goes all the way to the Nile underground tunnel. So we talk about more than 20 miles. Okay. So I think this place is a giant power plant. not only power plant, but also we can talk about other functions to the pyramids and to this place, that it is a place to produce a kind of healing energy, of course, to enhance DNA abilities, and so many other functions.
Yeah, I just stumbled across. I want to give a special mention to Jeffrey Drum. He's got a website called Land of Chem. Seems like not many people know about him, but yesterday he was on the Danny Joel's podcast, and I watched that this morning. Absolutely blew my mind. He's the first person. Let's say Chris Dunn is the godfather of the pyramid theories, but this guy's now piecing all of these pyramids together and suggesting they are a giant chemical compound complex to create chemicals to for such things as fertilizer, for such things like creating ammonia, which is where we get ammon from, apparently. And yeah, he's saying that the Egyptians have left us clues in hieroglyphs showing chemical formulas. I mean, it's just incredible. I don't have time to go through that, and I hope I can get him. Have you spoke to him before? Have you met him?
No, but we are friends on Facebook, and
Yeah.
I know he got married I think this week.
That's right, yeah. And he's friends with Youssef, and I met Hakeem during my trip to Egypt. So this is very exciting time, and I'm with you. I 100% agree that these are not tombs; these are some kind of power plants. So let's stick with that. Now, in your opinion, coming from Egypt, you live in Giza, right? We're actually calling from Giza right now. How far from the pyramid are you?
I'm 10 minutes away from the pyramids.
Oh my God! Now, after all said and done, in your opinion, what do you think is the true function of the Great Pyramid? I don't want to focus too much just on that, but I would like to hear what you think it is and explain how you think they would operate.
We can speak for weeks.
I know.
To answer. Okay, the pyramid has two, or I can answer this question in two ways, okay?
Yeah, okay.
The first way, when we talk about the functions of the pyramids, so we can talk that the pyramid is a power plant to produce energy, according to Chris Dunn book. We can use the same thing, Geoffrey, what is his last name?
Jeffrey Drum.
Jeffrey Drum.
Drumm.
Yes. And I remember precisely that he was talking about the pent pyramid to produce gas ammonia, and then the red pyramid to produce liquid ammonia. The great pyramid will change it to powder ammonia.
Yes.
Okay. And this is matching my story about the story of mankind about these disasters, because any solar flare or solar super heat waves from the sun will burn the earth. Okay. So no chances for agriculture. Ammonia will fix this. Okay, so they needed ammonia to fix the surface after the disaster.
Wow, okay. Yeah, that's right.
The pyramid also works as a great antenna.
Right, okay. I believe that, yeah.
When you read my book, the last chapter, I'm talking about microwaves. I believe that these pyramids used to produce microwaves, the pyramids and some temples. And microwaves is used not only for cooking, like most of us know, but also for communications.
Yes.
Our cell phones are working with microwaves. Okay. So the pyramid was dealing with, or was communicating with, other sites on Earth and maybe outside Earth. Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I don't agree much that the top of the pyramid was once covered with a capstone. No, I think it was always flat.
Yeah, good point, because Jeffrey Drum says that it was actually flat because that's how you could take the electric, you could capture the lightning. So that's what it was also doing, capturing the lightning from the air, and it had to be a flat top.
Yeah, it must be a little bit flat, but pointed, no.
Yeah.
Okay. Pointed will be better for sending only, but not receiving. But this pyramid was sending and receiving.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why, and this is something I'm teaching the audience. Anything in ancient Egypt or ancient civilization built from rose granite, which contains quartz. So we are talking about sending and receiving, transmission.
Yes.
So this is one of the functions. Okay. So these are three of the main functions of the pyramid. If I answer this question in a different way, I can tell you that the pyramid is a catalog, huge catalog for scientific data.
That's excellent. Yes, I was hoping you would say that. Sort of like a Rubik's cube that we have to take.
Yes.
We have to reverse engineer to figure out the secrets of the past. Fantastic.
Exactly.
Yes.
There is no written secrets.
Yes.
There is no hall of records as we imagine we're going to find papyrus and everything. No, there is always mathematics, geometric designs. So to understand these ancient knowledge, we must understand how they built it, how they put it in this certain location. Okay, so by solving these clues, we will reach so many scientific data.
Now, one thing I want to add, I mean, and my mind's constantly evolving. You know, I can change my mind about this because I'm open-minded to all of everybody's opinions. And what Jeffrey Drum proposes is that these people use this technology to terraform the planet. And it's funny because that's what Elon Musk is trying to do with Mars now. So somehow using the nature, the netta, we could terraform to make it more fertile, and that would eventually create more life and a more livable environment. And that's very interesting.
Yes.
Okay,
Look,
now
if I can add something to the story I told you, the story of mankind, that because of their unlimited abilities, they could do anything they want. Healing, teleport, traveling, stargates, portals, everything. But disaster after disaster, and they realized that they are losing these abilities, so they had to invent technology.
Yeah.
These pieces of technology to help them to achieve what they are losing. Okay, or
yes, I see. Yeah.
So they invented, or they built the pyramids, they built the temples, they built the obelisks. Okay, so they developed these tools to help them, or to help their descendants who are going to lose their abilities one day.
Yeah. Make life easier, like what technology is doing now. Which eventually, if you think about AI now, it's like that, the story of, the end of the world, man destroys himself, the mark of the beast. So it could have been so powerful that it malfunctioned. And that was my next question is, what do you think caused all of this? Obviously for me and you, I think we all agree that it was connected. Definitely. Everything's connected. Chris Dunn said that, everything around the world. And there's evidence that there was some kind of explosion inside the king's chamber. There's evidence of pyramids, the corners that look like they've exploded from the inside. And what do you think caused that malfunction? It shut down civilization. Okay.
As I told you, everything was running because of an electronic system.
Yeah.
Okay. There was also a kind of a mechanical system, because they were producing a different type of energy, okay, different mechanism. It was using nature.
Yeah.
So they must have a natural, stable system, okay? That's why there is that title called Mat or Ma'at, okay?
That means truth, right? The truth,
yes.
M-A-A-T, yeah.
But it's not truth. Ma'at is the balance.
Balance. Okay.
System, yes. Later it's used as the truth, because the truth is the right thing. Okay, you are following the right system. Might, as an example, is the percentage of oxygen on air.
I see.
Less or more is not might. Might is the distance between Earth and the sun, Earth and the moon. Might is everything. Everything must have certain pattern, certain order is might. Okay. So all the Egyptian rulers and also the priests, they were always talking about bringing might to Egypt, keeping might stable, keeping the existence of might. Okay. So here is my idea. If the pyramid was producing energy because of nitrogen and because of hydrogen, What if something wrong happened to the percentage of nitrogen or hydrogen? It means malfunction.
Yeah.
And it will lead to an explosion or implosion.
Yeah.
So again, back to the story of the solar disaster, 10,500 BC. Because of that disaster, all these systems lost control. Okay, and they became in a serious, dangerous situation. And you can see this clearly where inside the Pent pyramid.
Yeah.
Okay, the so-called king chamber or burial chamber inside the Pent pyramid. The design used to be like acoustic design, steps. Okay,
Yep.
the
Yep.
ceiling from wide to narrow.
Just, yep.
Okay. These edges, all of them are destroyed. As if someone with a giant chisel was climbing, chiseling every single centimeter. But that
Wow.
was not the case. Something happened inside this room, destroyed the ceiling, all the edges. Okay. So what happened? That is the time of the disaster. Because this is not a pressure, this is not an earthquake, because it will break some and leave some. But no, there was something major happened inside the space of this room, destroyed all the edges. Okay.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yes. So this is how I see it, that 10,500 BC was the time when these temples were destroyed, these pyramids. The pyramids lost casing stones also. They were shaking because of the vibrations. Obelisks maybe collapsed. Statues were destroyed. Because how can you convince me that a statue weighs 1,000 tons can be destroyed?
Yeah,
Seated you was
it has
huge.
To be high pressure. It's the
Right?
pressure, yeah, the sound
Super high
resonance.
pressure.
Yeah.
Yes, something beyond our imagination.
Up until
Can
this
I
morning,
have
go on,
2 minutes break? Okay.
Yeah.
I will do something.
Oh,
Just
you
2
want to
minutes.
take a break right now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Oh.
No problem. Give me 2 seconds. I'll go get some water. All right. See you soon. Okay. And we're back after a little break. Hi, everybody. So we were just talking then about how you thought that the pyramids malfunction, right?
Yes. The natural disaster is the reason.
Right. Now, up until this morning, before I listened to the Danny Jones show with this Jeffrey Drum, I thought that the Great Pyramid was the first construction. But now it seems more logical that all the other pyramids, the step pyramids, were the first constructions. And as they needed to create more volume, they would extend these structures and obviously get better and better. So yeah, what if one of those was to malfunction, possibly the inside of the pyramid, or do you know if there's any evidence of where it might have started? Is there like more destruction in one place than any other?
Of course, we need many scientists to work on this. Okay. But if you need my opinion, as a person who is always checking these sites and visiting these sites, I always say that the biggest or the most powerful part is the most damaged part.
Yeah.
That's why you will find that something, and this is very interesting opinion. The 3 pyramids of Giza, the 3 of them used to have casing stone. Okay.
Yeah.
2 of them lost the casing stone completely. The Great Pyramid, number 1, and number 3.
Yeah.
Number 2 still keep some of the casing stone. Okay. That means that the power of the Great Pyramid and the 3rd pyramid was more or higher level than the power of the 2nd pyramid.
Yeah.
Okay. Because according to the level of energy, it will be the level of damage.
Yes.
Okay.
Good point.
So if we can apply this concept on one structure, I think we must find where was the most powerful part of the pyramid. Okay. So my opinion, it is going to be the subterranean room. And if you visit the subterranean, and to do this, you need a private permission, you will find that the place is empty. The place is rough walls, no good design. That's what they call it, unfinished.
Yes.
Of course, I disagree with this 100%.
Yeah, it was.
This was decent looking one day, maybe covered with metal sheets one day. There was tubes, there was great system, but because we lost all of it.
I see.
And we are looking now to the rough walls. Okay. So I think that was the case of the Great Pyramid. Maybe not the same with all the other pyramids. Maybe it depends on where was the, what I call it, the core of the engine.
Yes, right, okay. So the engine would have blown up first, yeah, and there'd be no evidence of that. Very interesting. Just talking about pieces of the pyramid, I have a piece right here. That's just the limestone. I just picked it up outside the pyramid. I know you're not supposed to do that, but I had to. Now, when I met Hakeem, and I think it was through Stephen Mellor's books, Hakeem always said there was a way to differentiate between a tomb and a power device or a netter. There was like symbols or some kind on the structure. Have you ever seen these that can identify that they are the house of energy rather than a house of a tomb? And you also have like house of healing, like that you would like a hospital, for example. Have you seen evidence of that?
Yes, and by the way, it is everywhere, but the problem is how you translate this.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Because again, we will have this gap or problem between mainstream stories or mainstream explanation and our own explanations. When you go to any big temple, you will see this title, Hut Netzer.
Yeah, that's right.
Hut means huge. Netzer, nature, the huge complex of nature.
Yeah.
Small temple is called Ber Netter.
That's per netter, yeah. Yeah.
So Hut Netter is a healing center and academy in the same time.
Right.
University and healing center. Ber Netter, just a healing center because it's a small size. So Karnak temple is called Hut Netter.
Yeah.
Then Dara temple can be called Hut Netter. But what about Isis temple in Aswan? No, that is Ber Netter.
Right.
Okay. So house of nature, enclosure of nature. That is the true meaning, by the way. Okay. And here I'm not using my understanding. No, I'm using the ancient Egyptian symbol meaning.
Yes.
And don't forget something important. And I appreciate all the researchers, okay, the mainstream ones and the alternative ones. But there is one fact we must not neglect, that if this researcher is an Egyptian tongue, that will create big difference. Okay.
I agree. Yep, I agree.
Because we can understand better, we can feel the language better. Okay. So when an Egyptian researcher is telling you, no, I think it means this and this, in my opinion, it is more right than any other English or American or German or French tongue.
Yeah. I just want to give Christopher Dunn a little bit of respect here, because he never claimed to know everything about the whole system. He only focused his time, 20, 40, 30 years on the main pyramid. And he opened up this way of thinking for the Egyptians to take over. And now, after doing the interview with Ahmed, I got one comment from an Egyptian, and he said, in all respect to Ahmed, he said, Ahmed is our fourth pyramid, which I felt was such a lovely thing. And much love to Ahmed. I know he's going to watch this with great interest. So, and you too, you are also now, it's in your hands. As Christopher said, the cat's out of the bag. It's up to you guys now to take it. And I think that the Egyptians are embracing this now. They're not listening to the mainstream anymore. They've had enough.
Because it is not fair, as I told you.
Yeah.
And you asked me this question. If we don't open our eyes and we defend our heritage, you will find that we will be at the end of the list of
Yes.
civilization.
Yes.
And now in Dubai and in Saudi, there are so many archaeological expeditions
Yeah.
working there to prove that these places had ancient civilizations. And I don't deny this. I am very okay with this. But if they get more freedom to do decent diggings and opinions and researchers, okay, it's not fair for us. So we must do the same. We must explain our history in a better way.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's kind of like, imagine your grandfather invented the saxophone and you knew it because you've seen him do it. And then later down the, in history, people say, no, this person invented it. And it's so frustrating. No, it was my granddad. I know it because he told me and I watched him build it. So I
Good,
hope that
right.
I hope that you get I hope our ancestors get the respect that they deserve. Now, in your opinion, something I won't touch too much on the Freedom and Freud, but if you was an ancient builder and you was looking for a site to build these pyramids, how would you recognize an exact location before you built on it? Would there be something in the air? Would there be, would they have tools to recognize, like the dowsers, whatever? Like, what would be the key to say this is the site we need to build?
This is brilliant question.
Yes.
I will answer the question, but in a wide level.
Please.
Some people asked me, Mohammed, how come we can make the place, any site, active again? I told them we must have four things, four rules. Okay. If you find them in any site, the site means it means that the site is active. Location,
Yep.
alignment, material, design.
Right.
Okay. So now we are talking about location and alignment. Yes, I will give you a good example, and you will read this in my book also. The location of the second pyramid, okay? From the point of view of engineers, it is wrong.
Mm.
No engineer will build the second pyramid in that location. This is the worst location ever. It is against common sense, against logic, okay, against engineering plans. Why? Because they built it on a slope angle.
Oh, wow. Didn't know that.
They had to cut the base to level the base and then build the pyramid.
Yeah, I knew there was a big foundation before they even built the pyramid. I didn't know it was on an angle. Interesting.
Which is like maybe bigger mission than building the pyramid itself.
Very cool. Wow.
But why I'm saying this? Because a kind of 40 meters to the west, there is flat ground, but they didn't use it to build the pyramid. No, they
Right.
insisted to build it at that point. Why? Because of the location. They had some tools to understand that this location is the right location because of the energy flow underneath.
Yeah, interesting. And
Not
also
only
the angles as well would cause like hot and cold air to react, and that would also stimulate these clouds that would create electricity in the air, right? That is
and the location on the ground, and also this location leads to this perfect alignment with something at the sky.
yeah, very cool.
So many temples are aligned or the gate is aligned with the location of the sunrise, east. Okay. Other temples aligned with Sirius star, where it rises. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
The pyramids, three of them in Giza aligned with Orion.
yeah,
Other pyramids aligned with the Pleiades,
yeah.
form the seven stars. So that is the answer for the question. And that's why they didn't care if this location is easy or hard access. If this location in the middle of the Nile, they would build the pyramid in the middle of the Nile.
Wow.
If it is on the top of the mountain, they build the pyramid on the top of the mountain because the two requirements will be available. What is under the ground and what is the alignment.
Interesting stuff. Okay, now In your opinion, you mentioned the Serapeum. That's what got your interest intrigued right at the very beginning. Um, I don't believe it was for this bull. It wasn't a tomb for bulls. But what do you think is the mysterious Serapeum's function? This is a very difficult question, and everybody's got different opinions, but it's such a mysterious place. And I didn't go there in 2005 because it wasn't a popular place. And now it's everybody wants to go. So I haven't been there yet, but I've seen it on TV and it's wow, what is going on?
Okay, you have now open invitation because you need to go with me.
I will. I'm coming. I might even move to Egypt. I'm thinking about it.
Okay, I want, if I can surprise you, yes, it's a place to bury the bull. But here is the question. What do we mean by the word bull?
Interesting.
Okay, the ancient Egyptians had a term called bull of the sky. These fallen meteorites are called bulls of the sky.
Ah, okay, cool.
Okay. So if in my tours, I explain this site. By the way, it takes like half of the time of the whole visit to Saqqara. We stay there like 2 hours, at least 2 hours. Okay. There are 24 boxes, and there are some empty rooms for future plans, for more energy plans.
You're right. Okay.
Okay. Recently, we discovered a new branch, and we are looking for branch number 3. So we are talking about huge network under the ground. Okay.
Yeah.
As I told you, when we say quartz, so we talk about piezoelectricity under pressure, what's producing electricity. We talk about transmission. Okay. We talk about portals. So if I will be very conservative, I will tell you that the basic function of the Serapeum is to produce electricity because of the magnetic meteorites and the quartz.
Right.
Okay. But I can also tell you that, and I'm still conservative because I will take you to a crazy opinion now.
Take me. Take us there.
The second opinion is because of the alignment with the North Pole and the limestone ability to absorb radiation, pollution, and also negative energies, they can enhance the seeds. So they put some seeds like wheat inside these boxes for a certain time, so they can grow these seeds in rough conditions like the desert.
Wow.
Okay. And they can do the same to the human.
Yes.
The DNA human.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
There is one box was found closed. All of them were found open, except one was found closed. And they managed to open this one by using gunpowder. Okay. They made some explosives. It was found empty. Some rumors talking about jewelry and the Episcopal mummy. This is not correct. We don't know anything about this. There is no museum claims that they have the jewelry or the Episcopal, except the Agriculture Museum in Cairo. They say they have the Episcopal, but I went there myself with my family. We found 3 skeletons, 3, not just 1. And we know for sure that they were found in the area, but not inside the box. So that box was found empty.
Yeah.
But closed.
And super precise inside.
So what happened? It was active when it was closed.
Interesting.
But how come empty? What was inside? It was used also as a portal.
A portal.
When you go inside, then you transfer to another place.
This is Star Trek. Yes, I believe it. I totally believe it. That is incredible. So yeah, you could get in there and transport somewhere else. That's so cool. I mean,
so during the disaster, one person managed to escape from the Serapeum.
Oh wow. That is absolutely mind-blowing stuff. I haven't heard as much as that, but I don't want to. This is in your book, right?
This one, I'm not sure. I wrote too much.
That is absolutely incredible. Okay. Now, what do you think is the true function of an obelisk?
Also, okay, again to my main law. quartz.
Yeah.
So the main function of the quartz is so the obelisk was an antenna.
Yes, I agree.
Another thing, if we say that the temples are healing centers, okay? So my own also understanding that these temples were sending one frequency or certain frequencies to heal you, okay? You know that in you can search online about some kind of music to make you sleep well. Some music to heal depression. Some music for irritation. Have you heard about something like this?
Yes, of course. Carry on.
Yes. Okay. So imagine if the temple can produce these resonance frequencies. Okay, but your body is not ready to receive it. Okay. The obelisk will make your body ready.
Wow.
Will put your body in certain tone, because you are not going to be the only person visiting the temple. There are
Yes.
thousands of visitors, like Karnak Temple as an example. Okay, thousands. So thousands of different vibrations, they will affect badly the temple. So that's why there are many obelisks inside and outside. Okay, like the case of Luxor Temple outside, the case of Karnak Temple inside. But we don't know if there were two in the outside gate or no, because we don't know exactly what happened. So they work as antenna for communications. They work as tuning fork. They work as maybe light, like Ahmed Adli presented in one of his videos.
Yeah.
To produce, according to an ancient text. Okay. They were used to put the human body in certain tone, so their bodies can be like radios, receiving the frequency from the radio station.
That's amazing. Okay. Yeah, yeah.
And maybe more. Also to absorb negative energies. That's why we call it obelisk. You know what is the meaning of obelisk?
I don't know.
It's a Greek word for the needle.
Oh yeah, of course. Right. Okay, I heard that before.
Big needle, okay, and or what we can call it acupuncture. So it crosses fabric of the sky. So it absorbs the negative energies, and it goes through it all the way to the sky and release it at the sky.
See, I was told on my tour that it was the penis of Osiris. You know, when he's been chopped up into little pieces and he was missing his penis, so they built that as a temple for his penis.
This is a nice joke.
As a joke. But I've just finished reading Ibrahim Karim's book, The Biogeometry, and he does a wonderful job about explaining about the urban development. And he mentions that, like, you know, when the Masons, the Freemasons built Washington and they built Paris, and then they brought the obelisk over and they slotted it into this design, and it was like a battery that fired it all up and created the whole network to come alive. And that really resonated with me very well. So that's incredible how you've explained that better than anybody I've spoke to. So
let me give you another evidence. Okay, if we all lost relatives, okay, either uncles, grandfathers, fathers, right?
Yeah.
How I can communicate with one of my dead relatives?
Well, people go to church, or you know, you can do it just by prayer. Yes.
No, I need to have like physical communication. Can I do this?
Spiritually, well, I feel like my parents passed away, but I feel like their souls been reincarnated into me. I actually don't feel like they've passed away. They've just transformed. Yes. So
no, I understand, but is there a physical way, something to make you trust that you can communicate with them?
I'm not sure what kind of answer I should give. I believe yes, but I'll listen to your theory.
An obelisk.
An obelisk.
Yes.
Oh, right. Okay.
That is why. Okay. And every time I say this, people, because you already know what I'm going to say, but you don't realize that you don't know.
Go on.
If you said English cemetery or American cemetery, you're going to find that Instead of
Yes.
the tombstone, there is an obelisk.
Of course. Sorry, that's so obvious. Yes. And even in
Right?
some graveyards, there are obelisks. Yes. Okay. So it's like a
Why
two.
obelisk?
Interesting. So that's funny because like if you look at the old Finnish traditions, they always put the body under a tree, the tree of life. And the
Yes.
tree became the leaf, which was the life, and then that life would go back into the cycle of life and be reincarnated. So the obelisk is similar. You're saying that, would you say that one obelisk would be the place where all of the souls would go? Or
And it's communication.
it's all right, that's interesting. That's very cool.
Why
Um,
the pyramid is a tomb? You know that the pyramid, I don't deny that it was used as a tomb, but later, much later, of
yeah,
course.
much later, of course.
Why someone decided to use the pyramid as a tomb? Although
Because
that they knew that this is not a tomb.
if you're a king, you'd look like the best person in the cemetery, the biggest.
No,
No,
not.
okay,
The king wanted to guarantee a return ticket
right, I see. Yes,
or to guarantee better trip because they understood that this is a huge device of energy.
interesting.
This device used to help the livings. So maybe they buried themselves there just in case as an option, okay, to go safe to the afterlife, to cross easily and faster to the afterlife, or to come back.
Very cool.
It was not a fancy tomb. No, no, no. That was not the target. They respected these sites very much.
Right, I
And
see.
that's why they reused them for this reason.
Wow, that's just blow my head. And that's funny because this tattoo of the Duat, well,
Yes.
that was the original theory I had from the Robert Baval's theory of the shafts going to the Orion's belt. And now, after reading Chris Dunn's books, where they're saying that the chemicals came down, it's kind of like having an ex-girlfriend on my arm. Chris said to me, "Would you like me to laser it off?" I said no,
No,
because this is my passport, hopefully, to this afterlife. Just
look,
by
remember,
yeah,
as I told you, everything is multifunction. No, I will not be fair to say there is one certain meaning. No,
yeah,
there
yeah,
are
yeah. I
several.
know.
Right? So yes, Robert Duval is right. Christopher Dunn is right.
I agree with
Each
that.
one.
100%. Now, talking about the true function, it's debated that the Sphinx was once a lion's head, which seems to me very evident. But could this be a reference to a baby lion, as in Babylon? Is there a connection there, maybe? And what do you think that the purpose of the Sphinx was exactly? Because according to Hakeem, when I was there, I went to his house, he told me that the Sphinx was an energy device.
Um, oh, I have my own opinion. Okay. The Sphinx was definitely a lioness,
A lioness.
female lion. And that's why you will find that all the ancient nations were fascinated with lions. Okay. No nation, even if they didn't have lions, they have lions represented in their art, in their designs, in their symbols.
Yeah.
Okay. Because the target here was not the lion itself, it was the Leo constellation.
Yes, exactly. Right.
And when we say sphinx, according to the ancient stories, we must have two sphinxes. There
Yes.
are all two sphinxes, not just one.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but two sphinxes facing each other,
Yeah.
creating heat. Okay, not next to each other, facing
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah.
Yes, maybe like the Sphinx Avenue.
I saw
So
Ahmed's video about that. Yeah. Interesting stuff.
exactly. So the first Sphinx, or the one we have in Giza now, is called Tifnut, the
Yeah.
female one. And the one is missing is Shu. Shu is air. So when I say air, air is above. I don't look to the ground. Okay. So air is equivalent to the word sky.
Yeah.
So Shu is the Leo constellation. The
Wow.
day they meet, in my opinion, and this can be okay with Hakim's story, that this is the very energetic day, the day of miracles, if we can call it this way.
Yeah.
Okay. The day of great energy flow, the day of open portals. Okay.
Wow.
Uh, there are so many small statues at the Egyptian Museum, and some were found around the Sphinx for full Sphinx shape, complete lion or lioness shape. Okay, so everything before Dynasty 4 was talking about the Sphinx as full lioness or full lion shape. After Dynasty 4, it became head of a man, body of a lion.
So it was matriarchal system first, and this is
Yes.
to represent the patriarchal system taking over, right?
You
Maybe.
can call it patriarchy, you can call it ego. The king wanted to be represented as a sphinx, okay? As if he is the one doing this phenomenon.
I see. Is that Ramesses the second, was it, who did that?
No, that happened during Khafre time.
Okay.
A long time before Ramses. And then Ramses, all the Egyptian rulers made statues, Sphinx statues, but smaller, of course, than the one in Giza.
Right, okay.
Mhm.
So what do you think it represented? What was it you think it opened up these portholes at a certain time? But how about those two mysterious tunnels at the back of the Sphinx, which apparently are like some kind of runoff from the pyramid? What was that, the runoff for the chemicals going into the enclave? And
Sphinx is like a clock, okay?
right.
So, pointer. So as if the Sphinx is waiting for the moment when the other side will come, tick, 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 and then it faces the Sphinx, okay? And Egyptians used to wait for this moment, okay? But the whole area is, there is the Osirian shaft behind the Sphinx, like about 100 meters at the back of the Sphinx. By the way, there is now, we know for sure that there is under the lift above the Sphinx, there is a room about 2 by 3. And at the back side of the Sphinx, near the tail, there is a shaft going 3 meters down and about 3 or 4 meters horizontal. So every day we discover something new. So the Sphinx is not solid building as they used to claim. It seemed that there is a hollow design or space under the Sphinx.
But we don't know what that is yet.
Yes, but we used to deny everything. Now we started to release a little bit of these stories. So maybe in the next 2 years, more information about the Sphinx will be revealed.
Okay, so we've got the development of all this system, this huge chemical complex. But what were the first major cities in Egypt? Because I guess people weren't living around the pyramid areas. They would have been like an industrial complex, right? So what were the first major cities in Egypt, and what were they famous for?
There are 2 famous cities, eternal cities. The most famous city, according to the ancient Egyptians, was On, city of On, O-O-N, which we call it now Heliopolis, city of the. Okay. The second city is Ashmonain, city of Tos in Elminia, south of Cairo. On is the city of Atum, city of the sun, and we don't know who built the city. We don't know when, by whom. I will tell you later. Memphis, Luxor. We know everything about these cities, before and after and during. But Heliopolis and Ashmonain, we know nothing. So these are pre-Diluvian cities, okay, existed before the Great Flood and lasted all the time till the end of the Egyptian time. Okay, so those are the most important 2 cities. And these 2 cities are connected with the 2 series of creation, okay, the Ogdad and the Eniyat. I presented very good information about the ancient cities or ancient capitals in my book also. So the third one will be Memphis, the city of Betah, and Betah is the manifest. Betah is the one who is using the elements because the Ogdad are the elements, okay? The 8 letters are the elements. So Betah is the one who is using the elements for creation. And the creation happened using the 9 letters. Okay, it's quite,
No, I
it is not
understand.
but it's a long story. Okay,
I understand
so
that. Yeah.
okay, so if I say it from the beginning, so it was the will of creation,
Yeah.
then the power of creation, and then the elements of creation, and then the creation itself.
Wow.
These are the four stories of creation. I put them together in this sequence.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
we don't want to ruin the book too much, but do you believe that then the pyramids and the obelisks and all these major cities were all connected with some kind of wireless technology?
Ah, yes. You
Yeah,
know, if you visit Cairo and then move to Giza, Cairo and Giza are one big city, but Cairo, the east side of the Nile, Giza, the west side of the Nile. Okay. If you are in Cairo, spend the whole day in Cairo, in modern Cairo. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
And you drive a car far north, far south, and then go everywhere. And then you go to Giza, you will think that you are in a different location, in different side. But if you move to higher ground from both sides, you'll find that you are facing the ancient sites at Giza. Every ancient site in Cairo is perfectly aligned with an ancient site in Giza. There is a
Wow.
place called Abusir. Abusir between Saqqara and Giza.
Yeah, I've been
In the
there.
middle. Yes. Abusir is perfectly facing Heliopolis. One straight line.
Yeah.
People don't know this. So the angles of the pyramids of Abusir are leading to the ancient temple of Heliopolis. Okay.
Fascinating. Hmm.
So it is not just wireless connection, but also physical connection.
I see.
Yes, I believe that all the ancient pyramids, temples, cities, underground systems, Serapeum, Elephantine Island, all of them are connected.
So that
As
you would agree that that would be connected via like ley lines or like a sacred energy grid that goes around the world, right?
every site is working as individual site, but it is part of a bigger mechanism. And every mechanism is connected with another mechanism in Egypt. And Egypt is part of the global mechanism.
Yeah. Now, interestingly, when you look at modern buildings, like people ask me all the time, why don't we build pyramids anymore? It's my opinion that these big towers that we have in every major city, including the two towers that came down in New York, which funnily enough were on Battery Park, these kind of work like the same technology, in my opinion. We just don't know about it. In Vietnam, we've got the tallest tower in Asia. It's called the Landmark. And I told my friends 10 years ago that Vietnam will eventually become what you call a smart city. But first, we need to have a giant tower. And this thing is nearly the same size. I think it's 20 feet less than the Great Pyramid of Egypt. And at the bottom of the complex, there are two pyramids, just structures, which to me is like a sort of salute because these people know about this ancient wisdom. And interestingly, since that tower's been there, at the top of the tower, it was a separate company that built what's like an aerial. And they said they built it just to make it taller. But I used to go cycling in the morning around 4 or 5 a.m. and I could see the static electricity in this aerial. And then I've noticed that the thunderstorms and the lightning storms recently are a lot more vivid, a lot more clearer, as if this tower is either stimulating energy or collecting energy the same way that a pyramid would do. The same like you have the big tall tower in Dubai. And now recently we've had the floods there, you know. It's like these could be stimulating or terraforming or geoengineering weather. And then I also mentioned to my friend once that tower is built, they'll bring out electric cars in Vietnam. And guess what? We've now got electric cars. So I mentioned that to Chris because Chris Dunn gave his book to Joe Rogan and said, give this to Elon because he's going to need electricity for his cars. So I think we're onto something there. Now, can you read hieroglyphs?
Yes.
Can you give us a little example of how you would translate a hieroglyph, just for the simple layman?
Yeah. There is a famous phrase, we call it Webben Ra'em Akhir. Okay. Webben, and as I told you, as an Egyptian and Arab tongue, I can understand even if I don't speak hieroglyphic 100%, but it needs a kind of good knowledge.
Yeah.
Webben, it's a verb okay, means rise or appears. Ra is the subject, okay. Ra here can means Ra or the sun. M, in, in, akhir, the horizon. The sun is rising at the horizon,
Wow.
okay. The Egyptian language is, and by the way, I always say, and not only me, some other also scholars, that the Egyptian language is the source of all languages. Okay, either all the Western languages, of course, Latin, and all the descendants like English, French, German, Spanish, Italian, and also the Asian and the Arab language. Okay, there is a word in English, in Egyptian called chateau, with T. Okay, chateau. If we replace T with D, it will be shadow.
Oh, wow.
Chateau means shadow.
Interesting.
Okay.
So
it
a
is
lot.
the meaning and the way to say it. In Egyptian, there is word called hour, means time, like an hour, 1 hour. There is a word called summit, means summit in English.
Yeah.
There is a word called top, T-O-P, but in the Egyptian it is T-P only, but we say top. It is top, on top of something.
Yeah.
And there are hundreds of English words, and thousands of Arabic words are the same in English words. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have the famous formula called what is the word? Hetib di inbu, hetib di nisu, means they call it, but I don't agree with this. Offerings will be given to the king. Offering will be given to Anubis. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Now, hetib means power. Power will be given by the king, but the king here is the symbol of mankind. Okay. Power will be given to Anubis, by Anubis. Hetib di inbu, hetib di nisu. Okay. Another formula talks about Osiris. Osir, this is how we say Osiris. Osir or Osir. Nebet ementet. Osir, neb ementet. Okay. Osir neb duat.
Yeah. What?
Osiris is the Lord of the West.
Yeah.
Osiris is the Lord of the Duat land. By the way, the Duat land here, I always say it this way, Duat land. Some people can say the afterlife.
Yeah.
Some people can say the astral life. Some people can say the nizar, the underworld.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Nizar. Yeah.
Oh, I don't agree with all of this. I call it Duat land.
Interesting.
Okay. Why I call it this way? Because if you try to give it an explanation, it is not accurate 100%. Because if show me your art, I will explain something to you. Okay. This is the star.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is the A and the T, two alphabet.
That's right. Dua.
Yes. So we can escape the alphabet. No. So the star, and then this symbol now is the key. Ber. This symbol, it's they don't pronounce it. Ber.
Yeah.
Duat Ber, the house of the Duat.
The house of the Dua. That's what I knew. Yes, I got it right. Woo! I'm glad you clarified that.
The word star. So we are talking about a place full of stars.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, Hakeem said to me that it was like double harmony.
This is the word nef.
Like a double harmony, yeah, like as above, so below, which means the stars are, yeah. I didn't quite understand that. Now, who are the Sufi people, and why are they so mystical? They're still around, right? The Sufis, which is where you get philosophy, which is quite interesting, yeah.
But the modern Sufi, in my opinion, there is what I call them the fake Sufi now.
Right, yeah, okay.
But if we talk about, okay, Sufi is famous as a Muslim word for a group of people who decided to get rid of fancy life, get rid of any kind of physical needs,
Like a
Okay,
Buddhist
but of
monk.
course,
Yeah.
yes, but of course, eating, drinking, the essential need. Okay, but they are not running after life. Okay,
Right.
and they studied some kind of unknown science. Okay, so what we know as Muslims that the Sufi are people with high spirit, very spiritual levels. Okay, but as Muhammad, if I mix between the ancient Egyptian knowledge and the Islamic knowledge, I think the Sufi are uh, earlier groups from ancient Egypt. Okay, very knowledgeable people who managed to develop some techniques using spiritual abilities like communications. Okay, and this is something we know about the Sufi in Islam, that they can visit each other in dreams.
Yes, that's what I heard.
Yeah, they don't need to call each other. No, they can dream with each other and they can send messages to each other.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, yes, Filu Suf. Filu means brother. Suf, the brother of the Sufi.
Yeah.
Okay. And Suf also can be explained as the wool. You know, the famous fabric from wool.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And when you scratch or when you wrap wool, you create kind of electric charge. Okay. And
Ah.
electricity is somehow also a kind of current or wave. So this is what I'm talking about, communications. So I think that I'm not very sure, but I think this is one of the meanings. So the Sufi were a group of people originally from ancient Egypt, because the beginning of Sufism was also Egypt in Islamic religion. Okay. So as if the beginning of Sufi was ancient Egypt, and then they developed in Coptic Egypt and then Islamic Egypt. So there are people with great spiritual abilities. Unfortunately, now we have their descendants, but they are just title holder.
Now,
They
I
are
just want to share something I've learned about the Sufi is that I heard that they were the sort of the first people to have a sense of humor. They had a special knowledge, a special language called the knowledge of the heart. And I'll give you an example. There's a story about a farmer that has a donkey, and he has two stacks of hay on the side of the donkey, and he passes the customs officer every day, and the custom officer says, what have you got in the stacks of hay? What are you trying to smuggle? And he says nothing, and he checks it every day for 20 years, and 20
yeah,
years later the farmer sees the immigration officer, and he's retired, and he says to him, hey, I'm not an immigration officer anymore, tell me what you were smuggling. And the guy says donkeys.
exactly. Yes.
So I just wanted to share that little story.
He made
um
him feel suspicious with what the donkey is carrying.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now,
Distract.
going back to Akhenaten, Tutankhamun, or
Yeah.
Tutankhamun, whatever you want to say, Tutankhamun changed the religion of his father, if I'm right. Akhenaten. What happened with that exactly?
Mhm. Okay. We need again to go back to my statement that it was not religion,
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. It was philosophy.
knowledge and philosophy.
Yeah.
So when Akhenaten died, Akhenaten was the dreamer. He was the one who wanted to change and to challenge nature.
Yeah.
So Tutankhamun was born during Akhenaten time.
Yeah.
And that's why he got his name as Tutankhaten.
Atun. That's right.
Yes, but when Akhenaten was killed or died, or we don't know what happened exactly, the system returned back to its original case, Amun-Ra.
Yeah.
Okay, priesthood, the people, the officials. Okay, as if Akhenaten was a glitch in the system.
Right.
Okay. So Tutankhamun did the same. He changed his name to Tutankhamun, and he uh, was smart enough to follow the system,
I
not
see.
to reject and deny the system like his father or his stepfather, because we are not so sure. Because maybe Tutankhamun was as
Amhotep, was it Amhotep?
brother. Yes, half brother, or just for sure he was a stepson for Akhenaten. Okay,
Okay, okay.
but maybe he was a stepson, a half brother, or was a son for Akhenaten. We are not sure about this.
Right.
Okay. But yes, Tutankhamun changed his name and changed the philosophy of Akhenaten to go back to the main, or let's say the natural
The
system
natural
of.
cycle, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and then apparently, Tutankhamun was said to be like a mutant child. There's
Mhm.
evidence of like some kind of genetic manipulation, like he had a cleft lip, apparently he had a club foot, a bent back. I mean, to me, that all sounds like some kind of reincarnation gone wrong. Now,
Mhm.
what do you think about that? Do you believe that the Egyptians had the ability to bring back their dead kings, maybe using DNA samples, which may explain why they went to such lengths to hide and protect the bodies of these royalties?
Okay. If we talk about the possibility, yes, the ancient Egyptians, because also I believe that what we call them dynastic Egypt, they found some pieces of technology. They
Really?
found some information, because sometimes they develop some pieces and some statues they cannot do without high technology.
Mm,
And we know that they didn't have this high technology. So what happened? That they secretly found and used some of the ancient technology. That's why education in ancient Egypt was a kind of secret activity happening inside the temple.
yeah.
There was no schools in ancient Egypt. Everything was inside the temple. If you want to study, go to the temple first.
Right.
If you want to become a doctor, go to the temple. If you want to become a mathematician, go to the temple. Okay, they wanted to keep this knowledge among a certain group of loyal people. Okay. Tutankhamun, in my opinion, also was a very special ruler. Unfortunately, we didn't do any good study about Tutankhamun. We still think that he is just the young boy who became a king and he died at age of 18 or 19 years old. No, it is not fair, because Tutankhamun was more than this. I'm planning, I'm going to Florida in August, because I am nominated to the Best Author award. Okay.
Congratulations. Wonderful news.
I am in a hard competition with four authors. Two
Wow.
of them are giants already, Chris Dunn and Graham Hancock.
Oh, wow. You're going up against them.
Right? But Chris Dunn voted for me, and
Yes.
he told his followers to vote for me. So I think I'm gonna win the.
Oh, wow. That's brilliant. And so you should. You're the new boy on the block. Give the guy
So
a news.
I decided to, before the 2 days before the conference, I will go to the Metropolitan Museum in New York.
Right.
Why? Because there is a giant statue for Tutankhamun there. Giant statue. That is weird. It's a young king.
Yeah.
He didn't have time or tools to create giant statues. Yes, he
Mhm.
did. The name also Tutankhamun is very special. The only ruler in Egypt had this title, Tut.
Yeah, yeah.
No other king had this title, Tut. Tut Ankh Amun, the living image of Amun. Okay.
Wow.
You know, this is not a real name, a proper name, because his name means the living image of the invisible one. How
Very
come
cool.
he is not invisible? He was visible. So how come he got this title? Because they understood, and listen carefully to this, that he is going to die young.
Wow.
That's why they gave him this title, the living image of the invisible one. This
Wow.
name makes sense after his death, not during his life.
I see.
Okay?
So it was
So
premeditated.
Yes. So as if so Tutankhamun, yes, Tutankhamun is a big question in the Egyptian history. And by the way, you brought something interesting, that maybe we are talking about two Tutankhamun.
Yeah, two.
Aton, yes,
Wow.
Tutankhaton and Tutankhamun.
Yeah,
Because in regular history, they say he changed his name. Maybe not.
like a clone.
Yes,
Yes.
maybe Tutankhaton was one, Tutankhamun was second.
Now, I have a little bit of a theory, like with the whole elongated skulls, that if you want to believe in the aliens coming down, and you look at the story of Alien, you know, the actual story, it seemed like you look at the bodies of these people, they don't look male or female. So if Akhenaten couldn't have sex with any female on this planet, they would have had to have genetically modified and then eventually mix the genetics with living creatures like monkeys or whatever to eventually create us, which is like the slave race. I actually believe that could be a possibility. And that's kind of where you get the story of Genesis in the Bible, right? Genesis.
Yes.
So I think that they definitely were manipulated. And even so much when you think about the story of Noah's Ark, it would make more sense that Noah was on some kind of UFO with DNA samples rather than trying to put all the animals on a boat. And one more point
Much.
about Jesus. I'm not biblical, but if you look at the old movies of Jesus Christ, it shows a light on the stable, and Mary had the ultimate conception. She didn't have sex with anybody, and then she got pregnant. That light from Bethlehem could have been a UFO impregnating Mary, and Jesus was a hybrid or a demigod, and that's why he could walk on water. You know, it's just interesting. There's all these myths. Now, Egypt seemed to have what we call the golden era before this obvious dramatic change in religious beliefs or philosophy. And it seemed like the quality of craftsmanship and the precision of the structures declined. What do you think caused that?
Okay, as I told you, the if you check the what we call it, Old Kingdom, we divide the Egyptian history, the dynastic history, to three main eras: Old Kingdom, Middle Kingdom, and New Kingdom.
Yeah.
Okay. You will find that some rulers developed some good art, good structures, okay, and other rulers did not. And then, like a couple of 100 years, other rulers did something great, and then something weak. This is against the sequence of development.
Yes.
The
Okay.
sequence always goes up.
The five.
Okay.
The five.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But when you go up and down, up and down, up and down, it doesn't make sense. But the only thing can give us a good explanation that some of them found or get some access to ancient technology, and then they lost it. And then another group later, they managed to decipher some knowledge, and then they lost it. And then, so that is the case. Okay. So I think, yes, some buildings are in great shape and some kind of technologies because they understood how to activate some of the machines, maybe. And
I
then
see.
by the success of the people who were able to do this, they lost the abilities to activate these sites. The title Saba, okay, the title I'm referring to,
Yeah.
I call it the Stargate. This title was given to people as a title, okay, to rulers. Tutmosis III, Hatshepsut, Ramses II, Seti first, Senusert third. So why it was given to the, because in my opinion, those people managed to understand the technology of the Stargates. So it became like a title for them. Like now when we call someone a professor, okay, they used to be called professors or doctors because they had PhD in something. They made a research on certain subject, okay? So they got the title. So this was a title, but during dynastic time for the people who had this super knowledge, okay? But when these people died, they lost the knowledge. And then someone else, maybe after 50 years, maybe after 500 years, Okay. Don't forget that dynastic Egypt lasted for 3,000 years.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I,
that
I
would
I I want to argue that knowledge has never been lost. I think it's just become in the hands of a smaller and smaller, superior elite that still control the world using the same knowledge. But it's like the original temples or ziggurats. The inner sanctum was for the higher priests, and everything
Mhm.
outside of that was for the normal people. Nobody had access to that secret. I don't think that wisdom's ever been lost.
That is
And I think that's why a lot of people have certain advantages on development of technology, especially. Um, Now, do you honestly believe that there has been a conscious or deliberate effort to cover up or hide this advanced ancient knowledge from a possible lost civilization to benefit a small group of people? Or do
that
you
is for
honest?
sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
I, uh,
good.
I believe in this 100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Because,
appreciate your honesty.
let me ask you a question, and that is for the audience. Okay. Iraq had also many ancient civilizations, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Have you ever heard about Iraqology,
No.
China,
Yeah,
India, Greece, Rome? There is no Romology or
yeah,
Greekology.
yeah,
There is only Egyptology.
yeah,
Okay. Why this? This is the way to cover up the ancient Egyptian history. They created Egyptology, so
yeah,
they will be only Egyptologists.
yeah,
To
exactly.
become Egyptologist, you must join their teaching,
Yeah,
and they
it's
give
kind of
you
it's an indoctrination, and it's very sad because there's obviously good-willed people that study this their entire lives and they write books, and it must be heartbreaking for somebody to come along and say all of that's lies. I get that, and but it's time now. We owe it to our ancestors. I'm sure that's how you feel as I do. Um, do you believe that the Egyptians had superior healing capabilities than modern medicine back in the day?
100%.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, the pre-Diluvian Egyptians for sure, and also the ancient Egyptians. Okay, when you go to Komombo Temple, there is a famous scene at the backside of the temple called the surgery tools.
Yes.
Okay. Some of them are exactly the same of our modern tools.
Wow.
Okay. But unfortunately, all what we have or the stories we have about people who died in young age, people who have some disabilities. Yes, because we didn't find all of them.
Yeah.
Okay. We talk about 2 million Egyptians during the time of Ramses II. We didn't find like 5,000 mummies from that time only. So how come we put our judgment that they had some kind of issues, some kind of problems with their bones or their blood? Okay, how come we like it is famous in the ancient in the stories about ancient medicine. They say it was very primitive, and the Egyptian average age was 40, 45 years old. Really? No, this is not fair because many of the Egyptian stories were talking about reaching the age of 120.
Yeah. And
That was considered of
that would
wisdom.
that would explain how they could create such amazing engineering feats. You can't do
Exactly.
that like 18, like you said, with Tutankhamun, right?
So imagine if someone dies at the age of 40 or 45, his target will not be 120. Will be like too much for him. His target will be 60 or 70
Yeah.
or 80. But 120, it means that people used to live at least 80 years old or
Yeah.
90 years old. Okay. To know the sex of the baby, nowadays we use ultrasound sonar.
Yeah.
Okay. Ancient Egyptian used barley and wheat.
Wow. Very cool.
Okay. Nature. How the urine of the pregnant lady
Yeah.
over some barley seeds and wheat seeds at the same time. Okay.
Wow. Interesting.
Barley grows means boy.
Yeah.
Wheat grows means girl. And one thing only will grow, not the two of them. Okay.
Wow. That's cool.
Found a papyrus, long one called Kahun papyrus. It talks about pregnancy from day one to delivery day, everything, every problem with the medicine. description, the side issues, and the medicine. So yes, ancient Egypt had a kind of great medicine, in some cases better than what we have in modern days.
Amazing. What, in your opinion, was the actual purpose of the Ankh? Because I used to have a cartouche with the Ankh. I've heard different stories.
The Ankh is, something, it's funny, I'm writing about the Ankh these days, okay? The Ankh is the power of life,
Right.
okay? Force of life. The Ankh also is consciousness, okay? When you look to the Ankh, the original Ankh has, the tail of the Ankh used to be double, two, not just one.
Yeah.
In the later carvings, it became one, but it is actually two, okay? And I see it like a long rope comes from the root of under the ground, and then the horizontal line, and then the loop, like the drop of water, okay? Water drop. So as
Beautiful.
if they talk about connected with Earth, horizontal line, this is the horizon was air and the sun, the loop here, the atmosphere, it is the cycle of life, all the cycle of life. Okay, so that's why I make sure to explain it as two, so it has a beginning and an end, but it is non-stop. Okay.
Yeah.
Your physical body will disappear, but your soul is somewhere.
That's amazing.
Okay, will continue the life, or the second chapter of the life.
And what about these mysterious so-called handbags? That you see. That's still a mystery for me.
Okay, you talk about the land of Kim, right?
Right. You see these giant statues with these mysterious handbags. Graham Hancock talks about it.
The word Kim and Kemet, okay? Kemet is the female word of Kim, okay?
Yeah.
So Kemet became chemistry.
Yeah.
And Kim became alchemy.
Alchemy, yeah.
So what is Kim? Kim is, yes, why it's called chemistry? Because the Greeks, when they want to give a name to this thing the Egyptians are practicing, they call it the Egyptian science. Chemistry means the Egyptian science, okay? And they were masters in chemistry.
Yeah.
And many of what we call it magic is chemistry, okay? So this bag, in my opinion, contains the liquid or I call it the secret of chemistry.
Nice.
There is in the ancient Egyptian statues or carving, they show holding a kind of round jar.
Yeah.
They call it a new jar, NU. Okay. We don't know what is inside these jars. I think it is the same thing. This kind of liquid, which if we explain it as a very basic, simple explanation, we will talk about the liquid can change cheap metal to gold.
Wow. That was the original desire of an alchemist, was to turn rock into gold or something like that, right? Cool. That's very cool.
But it is more than this. It is not because gold here is not considered as an expensive material. No, gold here is a conductive material.
Yeah. Get that.
Because it can be what we can call it monatomic gold. And monatomic gold, it makes your body netzer.
Yeah.
You got the power of nature.
Wow. Amazing. He's so knowledgeable. Now, how about these mysterious circular discs in the museum that were, I was told they were a vase. Ahmed couldn't really answer the question. Have you got anything you can elaborate on?
We call it vase because there is a round part at the middle.
Yeah.
So you can do something like a vase.
Nah, bullshit. To me, it looks like something that spins around.
Look about the chest disc, okay?
Yeah, that's it.
The chest disc represents two problems for me. Problem number one, the design itself, what does it represent? And problem number two, how it was made.
Yeah.
Okay. How it was made, it can answer the first question. I think it was made by also high technology, because you cannot create these thin layers without breaking them if you don't have high technology.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And they found the chest disc in Dynasty 1, one of the tombs of Dynasty 1. So we talk about primitive techniques. So they cannot never produce anything like this. So what is the story? They found it and they used it. So it was found from a previous civilization.
Interesting.
Okay. What can matches this kind of shape? There is an ancient machine used by ancient farmers to bring water from lower levels to higher levels. Okay, it's a long tube with similar at the top, and they used to spin it. Okay, so we are talking about if we apply this on sound, okay, and it can suck in sound or produce sound. Okay, so we are talking about a device can affect gravity.
Yes.
Okay, so gravity, this is the solution to answer how they managed to carry these blocks hundreds of tons.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like some kind of levitation conveyor belt or something.
By the way, one of our famous doctors called Dr. Mustafa Mahmoud.
Yeah.
He used to do a TV show every week for all Middle East. He was well known in Middle East. Okay. He was originally a physician. Okay. But then became attracted in metaphysics. He said that the only solution to understand how they managed to lift these blocks, he said the only solution, and he's a man of science, is gravity control.
I agree.
He said nothing. Okay, because we talk about pieces 700 tons, 500, 700, and 1,000 tons. There is no well-known tool can carry 1,000 tons in our modern ages.
Yeah, and it's just the time, it's just not logical at all.
Chris Dunn taught me a good lesson, told me, Mohammed, be careful when you say our modern technology, because we have great technology. We can do great things. Okay.
Yeah.
I think he agrees with me that we don't have any crane can carry 1,000 tons.
Exactly.
Okay?
I know.
And so yes, I think that the device itself was made as a copy, ancient, as a copy made by ancient technology, like a toy or something like this, but to imitate a real device for anti-gravity. Similar to a small toy we found, we call it Saqqara bird.
Yeah,
okay? It's from wood. And it is an airplane. It is not a bird at all.
I've seen that. Yeah,
100% airplane, but it was made as a toy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense to me completely. Now, you mentioned portholes before. Now, do you think that these ancients knew how to open portholes to other dimensions, or they were jumping from like one place to another in the same area? And what do you know about these dimensions?
Okay, I know one thing for sure, that the ancient Egyptians themselves told us that portals existed.
Yeah.
Okay. If you visit what they call a tomb, there's a kind of a design like squares inside each other inside the tomb, or rectangles, called false door.
Yeah, I've seen them. I've seen them in Bolivia as well. Yeah, just mad.
Okay. But in the Egyptian tomb, it is an official statement from the ancient Egyptians telling you that the soul can come back to this physical dimension to visit the mummy and then goes back. Okay, so this is very clear now that this door is dimensional door, connects between the afterlife and this life. And the soul can keep coming in and out many times, not just one time, not a coincidence. No, it's a deliberate access. So it can goes in 100,000 times and goes back 100,000 times. So you see, they are telling us that they understood that there are some connection between dimensions.
Okay. Interesting. How much of Egyptian wisdom would you say is now used in today's black magic? Because it's obvious we've got a very satanic government, a lot of weird things going on, a lot of war, a lot of poverty. Do Do you think it's related to the black magic of Egypt? Because you got Aleister Crowley and people like that, dressing up in Egyptian attire. There's lots of books about it. Do you think it could be potentially dangerous and it's having a negative effect on the world?
Look, I know for sure that some kind of technology were discovered and used, but I don't think it is much. I think we talk about maximum 5 to 10%. Okay. Because I know the ancient technologies are huge. So they are not using much of it because they still operate so many expeditions in Egypt to find more technology. Okay. So I think yes, they cannot use much. And yes, it can be used wrongly. It can be used against its purpose. It can be completely the opposite. And instead of producing positive energies, it can produce negative energies. Can be used for the wrong way. But you know what? There are some people in the ancient days, they managed to understand some of these technologies, maybe in big scale, but they didn't want to tell us how to use it. They left messages for us, like puzzles. The people who can solve the puzzles will be the right people to use these technologies. Like what? Like the flower of life.
Yeah, yeah.
This is unknown symbol. Okay, I think it's a message. Da Vinci, Leonardo da Vinci left messages for us
Yeah.
in his painting, Peruvian Man.
Amazing
Okay,
mind, yeah.
so as if some people understood some facts, but they couldn't leave written message to us. So they left a puzzle. So the right people are the only people can understand it.
Yeah, that started with the pyramid for me, and now it's podcasting with amazing people like you. And I feel I have felt negative energy. Not so long ago in Vietnam, I was very sort of outspoken about certain things, and I was randomly sat in a bar, minding my own business, drinking alone, and a guy walked in wearing the full Egyptian attire with a staff, and it scared the shit out of me. I actually ran home, and I know it was real, but I don't know what it meant. I felt like I was being pulled into like a porthole of like, getting close to death. It was very, very scary. But how do you balance that? Because you're going into very mystical places and there might be some dark energies and stuff, but you seem like a very positive person. Do you feel like you're on the right track and that you're protected by this presence because you're doing the right thing?
100%, yes.
Yeah, I
Okay.
feel that. I see that in your eyes. I see it in your energy. You're making me feel warm and tingly. Now we're nearly finished. We're nearly
I feel
finished. Go on.
I'm delivering their message in the right way.
Yeah.
That's why I feel that I am protected by their powers and this kind of nature.
When you say they, who do you mean by they?
The ancient Egyptians, I mean
Oh,
that.
okay. Can I ask how old are you?
I am 47.
You look extremely young. Your face looks very youthful and happy, which is good because you go into all these sites. I do believe you're getting that. Now we're nearly at the end. It's been a wonderful interview. I'm so happy to speak to you. We are obviously clearly in an age of disconnection. There's lots of things going on, and misinformation, disinformation, war, poverty, famine all around the world. Do you foresee the so-called return of the golden era again? When everybody will be connected spiritually and mentally, and we might be able to, build these kind of things together.
As I told you, yes, we ended the cycle of Amun in 2012. We started a new cycle. That cycle is the beginning of light.
The age of
So
Aquarius.
yes, we started to see. So yes, we are, maybe we still have some problems, conflicts, okay? But every year is going to be better than the year before. So we
Amazing.
are upward.
Okay. Now, what places or special tours or guides, obviously yourself, would you highly recommend for the listeners to come and check out when they visit Egypt?
Of course, we offer good tours. Most of our tours between 12 days and 14 days.
What is the name of your tour company?
Saba Tours.
Saba Tours, yep.
SABA, Saba Tours. Okay, and our website, sabatours.com. Okay. We cover Cairo, Luxor, Aswan, and sometimes we do some day trips to Alexandria, Tanis, Talabasta, or Fayoum. These are the most important sites when you go to, like Cairo, Giza, Saqqara. We have a new museum called the National Museum.
Yeah, I'm
Museum.
dying to see that. Yeah.
Yes. Of course, Luxor, there is so much to see in Luxor. Even when you go to Karnak Temple, one day is not enough, even sometimes a week, because there are so many sites inside Karnak Temple itself. Okay. There is a place now I take my clients to. It's called the Seven Gates Chapel. Okay. It is one chapel with seven gates carving inside each other. Again, it's a very clear symbol as a portal. Okay. The Nile cruise is one of the best experiments you can do.
Yeah.
Uh,
The biggest sun I've ever seen in my life on them tours.
exactly.
I got burnt to a crisp.
I am promoting for a tour these days. It's one of the kind. Maybe not because of the style of the tour itself. It's like the usual thing we do, but because for the first time we do installments. You don't need to pay one time or two times. You can pay 10 installments.
That's fantastic. All right.
So as a tour guide, yes, I recommend myself because I will show you different perspective, but I cannot be the guide for all the groups. That's why I trained two more guides.
Yeah.
A man and woman, they work with me. That's why we, especially when we have big tours, sometimes two buses, we work together. So yes, Sabatours will cover your needs about ancient Egypt and about the new sites and the new explanation about ancient Egypt.
And where can people find your new book?
My book is in Amazon. If you write the name on Amazon, Amazon USD, you'll find it. My new book, my second one, will be published at the end of this year.
Oh wow, you're already doing a second one, huh? Brilliant. Well, that's my major priority right now is to get that book. I can't wait to read it, and I am certainly going to invite you on here again, maybe with a couple of other guest speakers. But the last question I want to ask is, what motivated you to write a book? Because there's so many books on this topic already. How is your book different?
Okay, because I wanted to create a source. Okay, because I was using oral technique all the time, guiding my tours, doing podcasts. Okay, so I felt it is important to start putting together some physical data. Okay, that's why you'll find some people who read my book, but they already listen to my videos and my podcasts. They don't feel happy with half of the book. Why? Because they already know this information they were looking for. But I had to write the book in a good sequence for the people who didn't hear me or listen to me before. Okay, so I had to add some information. That's why I am writing my second, and as soon as I finish the second, I'm going to write the third. I'm trying to put together a kind of a good source for information. Okay, because I know many people will listen to our podcasts. They will love some information, but they will not able to memorize all of it.
Yes, yes, yes.
But to have a book, they can keep coming back to the book. They can highlight some information. So reading is still an important source for knowledge. So this is my target.
That's amazing. Well, I hope I can be an aspiring author. I'm very much honored. I'm in awe of you, Ahmed, Chris, Robert Short, Robert Val, Graham Hancock, Billy Carlson, all these people. I really hope I can get onto the podcast later. One last question. What does yakini mean to you?
Yakini, look, when you're asking me about, I feel positive, okay? Yakini originally is an Islamic word, so I trust God. I believe in God, but I trust God. This is the word. I trust that everything will be okay with me. So this is my yaqeen, my trust with God.
Uh-huh.
Yakini.
I had, because I got that from Steven's book, and I had a cartouche. It's being fixed, and it says Yakini. It spins around Yakini, Yakini. Wonderful, Mohamed. Thank you so much. Inshallah, salam alaikum. I wish you all the best for the future, and I'll contact you once I've read your book. Amazing. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I appreciate your time, and all the best, my friend. All the best.
Thank you, Adam.
You're very welcome. Knowledgeable, man. Very knowledgeable. Thank you for blowing my mind. Good night, everybody. Ciao.
Bye.